Have you ever felt the frustration of hearing your neighbor buy a new sports car while you can only repair your old one? The Russian Navy is now experiencing exactly that. The Black Sea Fleet was soundly defeated in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, suffering heavy losses among its surface warships, and the remaining vintage vessels are now outdated. Want to build new large ships? After 30 years of effort at their own shipyards, the largest new ship they've managed to produce barely matches China's 054 frigate. Watching China commission world-class 052D and 055 class destroyers at a rapid pace, Russia is growing increasingly desperate. The U.S. magazine Military Observer recently revealed a bombshell. Russia is serious this time, aiming to look eastward and secretly planning to introduce China's mature giant ship technology, with the core target likely being the design essence of the renowned Type 052D destroyer. The once proud Arctic bear is now willing to bow its head and learn from its student. Why has Russia suddenly become so interested in the 052D? The story is heartbreaking. The once mighty Soviet Navy has left Russia with a fleet that is now little more than a naval retirement home. The only remaining ocean-going warships number just 14, 11 destroyers and 3 cruisers, all relics from the Soviet era, with an average age of over 40 years. On the Russia-Ukraine battlefield, even the 10,000-ton cruiser Moscow was lost. What's worse, Russia can't even build decent large ships anymore. Since the dissolution of the Soviet Union, for the past 30 years, the Russian Navy hasn't received a single new large surface combat vessel. It's not that they don't want to build them, they simply can't. The Boreai-class destroyer, a colossus on paper, touted to be nuclear-powered with a displacement of 14,000 tons, it remains only a computer rendering, a laughingstock among military enthusiasts. Even the modern class production line inherited from the Soviet Union could only rely on existing resources to complete the final few vessels for China before ceasing operations entirely. The biggest vessel Russian shipyards can muster now is the 22,350 class frigate, barely exceeding 4,500 tons. Standing alongside China's uniform fleet of 052D and 055 destroyers, the tonnage difference is stark. In terms of combat capability, the 22,350 has 48 missile launchers, while the 052D has a full 64, and is larger in size, capable of accommodating missiles with longer ranges and greater destructive power. A report by U.S. Military Observer magazine on August 15, 2025, hit a nerve with Russia. They quoted the latest statement from the Russian Navy Commander-in-Chief: a post-Cold War first destroyer project is underway, with a rather intimidating name, Blue Water Combat Platform, designed to operate in distant seas. What is most intriguing is the progress announced by the Russian side. Technical tasks have been swiftly assigned, designers are currently executing them. The project has entered the technical finalization stage, and the next phase is to begin shipbuilding. This rocket-like speed is unprecedented in Russia's military-industrial sector, which is known for its sluggish pace. U.S. media outlets have keenly sensed something amiss. Without decades of accumulated expertise in designing large surface warships, how could Russia possibly achieve such rapid progress on its own? The only plausible explanation is that they have obtained an existing, mature design scheme as a foundation, eliminating the need to start from scratch. Where did this scheme come from? The direction is clear. Russia aims to revive its blue water navy, and the 052D is the perfect blueprint. This Chinese-designed destroyer, fully mastered and mass-produced domestically, perfectly aligns with Russia's two most critical needs, a mature platform and top-tier firepower. The 052D's displacement represents the upper limit of Russia's current shipbuilding capabilities, making it an ideal stepping stone for returning to blue water operations. In terms of firepower, the 64 large-caliber universal vertical launch cells can accommodate anti-aircraft, anti-ship, land attack, and anti-submarine missiles, with firepower density far exceeding any current Russian surface warship. What truly catches Russia's eye is the dual-band radar on its deck, a star product of China's defense industry. The fly swatter on the bridge is responsible for long-range air defense search and guidance, while the small shield at the top focuses on low-altitude blind spot coverage, forming the core of the Chinese Aegis system. The battlefield awareness capabilities provided by this detection system are unimaginable for the nearsighted radars on Russia's current fleet of older ships. The cards China holds in its hand are enough to make any nation aspiring to build large warships envious. It is not merely the maturity of the 052D technology, but China's formidable mass production capability. Over the past decade, Chinese shipyards have delivered nearly 40 Aegis destroyers to the Navy at a pace akin to churning out dumplings. What does this mean? It means that from steel plate cutting to precision electronic equipment integration, From advanced welding technology to complex system engineering management, China has established a comprehensive, efficient, and reliable giant warship construction system that has been validated countless times. This mass production and industrialization capability is precisely the key technical know-how that Russia has long desired, but remains out of reach. US media reports have highlighted a potential indirect strategy Russia might adopt, purchasing entire 052D ships outright. This is unlikely, as it would be a matter of pride, and Russia's finances might not permit it. Russia is more likely to pursue a technology transfer approach. In simpler terms, this means obtaining the core design blueprints of the 052D, or at least the manufacturing technology, or finished products for its key subsystems. This could even involve partial assembly at Russian shipyards, under the guidance of Chinese engineers. This model would effectively involve Russia using its own hull to house China-made heart, eyes, and fists. This is the true meaning behind the US media's emphasis on leveraging China's giant warship technology. This path may seem tempting, but every step is fraught with challenges. The biggest hurdle is Russia's deeply ingrained military-industrial complex mindset. Purchasing key technologies from a former subordinate, this would inevitably trigger a massive blow to Russia's sense of pride internally. Technologically, there are also significant challenges. Can China's radar, weapons systems, and combat command systems seamlessly integrate with Russia's current Soviet-style naval equipment system? It may require large-scale renovation and integration, which is time-consuming, labor-intensive, and costly. More profoundly, there is a strategic contradiction. Relying on Chinese technology to revive its own navy is completely at odds with Russia's oft-repeated slogan of rebuilding an independent defense industry. China is also unlikely to agree readily. The radar technology, electronic warfare systems, and vertical launch missile technology on the 052D and 055 destroyers are China's core competencies and highly sensitive state secrets. Selling mature equipment is one thing, but packaging and transferring these core technologies to another major military power, even if the recipient is Russia, a close ally, China would have to weigh the decision carefully. International pressure is another major factor. NATO countries have already imposed the harshest sanctions on Russia over the Ukraine issue, and are highly vigilant about China and Russia growing closer. If news were to leak that China is providing Russia with top-tier military ship technology, the West would inevitably launch a new round of intense sanctions and blockades. Is China willing to bear this political cost? The financial burden is another looming concern. Building a large destroyer is a money-burning machine. A destroyer of the 052D class would easily exceed $10 billion in cost per vessel on the international market. This does not include the maintenance costs, personnel training, and ammunition procurement over the next few decades. Russia's military budget is currently being poured into the bottomless pit of the Russia-Ukraine war. Tanks, artillery shells, armored vehicles, soldier compensation. The needs of the Army, Air Force, and missile forces always take top priority. The nuclear arsenal, the cornerstone of Russia's great power status, is also a budget protection target. How many precious rubles will ultimately be diverted to the Navy to support a brand new, massive destroyer construction program?